Jesus, dude, you have like a lot. Jesus, dude, you have like. Oh, we're streaming right now. Sweetness.
Make sure you turn that off.
Yeah, I just did after I heard myself talk to myself.
All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome to a special, obviously live edition of DiabloCast. As always, I am your host, Dennis Force2 Hamill, and with me are two lovely gentlemen. We have Kevin Sixen Carlino.
Hello, everyone.
And then Tyler ScyberDragon Milnes.
How's it going, guys?
All right, so this is going to be quite interesting, I would have to say. We have the conference call that's going to be happening in 20 minutes. Not guaranteed to start on the dot. Knowing Blizzard, they'll probably be about a year or two late. So, but yeah, we're just going to be.
I might cancel some things along the way.
We might get a reoccurrence of StarCraft Ghost that might be coming out before the conference call starts. But no, we're going to be answering some questions from you guys in the community. We're just going to be talking a little bit Diablo. We also have some nice footage to play to go along with the cast. And once the call actually starts up and we get some information about, basically anything, then we're going to go into that. If we get some information about the beta or anything of the like. So yeah, let's just start things out here. First of all, how are you guys doing this week? I know you, Kevin, just got back from, what was it, your finals?
Yeah, I just took a couple finals this morning and rushed home so I'd be able to get here in time.
Oh, there you go. And how'd you do? Did you do good?
I'm not exactly sure. This is more important.
All right. And how are you doing today, Tyler? How's your week been?
Very full of work. I worked 40 hours in the last 3 days so that I could have today off for the conference call, and then tomorrow is actually my 6-year wedding anniversary, so I had to make sure I had that day off as well.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Very cool. Congratulations to you. Definitely.
Thank you.
Definitely.
I think the wife might have been upset if I got today off and not tomorrow. So.
I cannot imagine that would have actually panned over or too well. All right, so just so you guys know what's going on, again, there's going to be the Blizzard Activision conference call very, very soon. And we're just going to be talking about some topics until then. If there's any big major topics that you guys would like discussed, go ahead and let us know. We're expecting to deal with a lot of chat spam, so realize that it's going to be hard to filter our questions. But there's also, I know, Kevin, you wanted to plug something in particular?
Yeah, actually, there's been a lot of people that jumped on our IRC channel, which you can check out. I think Tyler put it in a link, right, on the Diablo fans homepage. So you just click the IRC button, and then you can go ahead and find the information right there.
There you go. And then also there are questions being fielded on the Force Strategy Facebook page, and there's a link available in the live conference call video description down there. So you can go ahead and over there. Makes it a little bit easier to answer questions on that page because we're not dealing with waves and waves of chat spam. And if you guys want to let us know if there are any major difficulties, if you see something like an error, go ahead and refresh the page. It should be working. Is it up? Everything's up for you guys? We're all set?
Yep. Yeah, I was listening to myself. It's a couple seconds behind, but I guess that's good.
Yeah, no, that's the case. And as long as we just make sure that the sound and everything is nice and fancy and dandy. So let's just talk about speculations. We obviously we've been touting this as the possible definite, if those two words can go together, the possible definite announcement of a time frame for the beta. And to go into details to why we think that, well, there's, I don't know, just compounded several factors to why this would even be something we would think would be happening. One of the main things is, well, again, we looked at the idea that the beta is going to be released. The game's still looking to be released this year. That's been said in umpteen million interviews. I think it's been said in like 3 or 4 interviews. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I mean, recently they've given a lot of different statements about how they're trying to keep it to 2011. I mean, they haven't promised anything, obviously, but they're shooting for it still.
Yeah, and that was, I mean, that's been said. I know, like, Jay Wilson said it a few times. I know Mike Morhaime said that they were looking to release the game this year. So
I think even Frank Pierce might have said it in an interview. So
these are numerous people of high authority in the Blizzard chain of command that have been stating that that's what they're focused on. That's what they're really, really trying to do. And then of course we got the information that the beta would be starting 6 months before release. We've talked in the past how that doesn't necessarily mean the beta itself will be 6 months, but that the start of the beta should be somewhere around 6 months prior.
And now it's not going to be exactly 6 months to the dot. I mean, that's just a rough estimation. So when we say 6 months, I mean, we don't mean exactly 6 months.
Yeah, that's not. I think that's hopefully people understand that.
I mean, I'm just throwing it out there.
To the day, exactly. Yeah, I'm just making sure. People have been saying, I think the stream's all right. So, anyways, the whole point is that this is why we're pulling this information, because with so much confirmation that they're still aiming for this year, with the fact that the beta is going to be starting, give or take 6 months prior to the release, that's why we're really thinking, all right, this has got to be the time, because we're already 5 months into the year, and there are only so many more months left. In fact, there's only about 1 more month left if they're still actually aiming for a release this year. So
right.
That's what we're hoping, fingers crossed. And once again, once we do get some actual discussion about Diablo, we'll go ahead and load up the stream from the conference call. So where do you guys want to take this? You want to start off just looking at some questions, doing some general discussion?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess you guys got any questions in the RSC? You want me to hop on over to Facebook? How are we looking over there?
Yeah. Right now people are kind of filtering in still, so maybe we should give them another minute or two.
Sure thing. Let me let's head over to the Facebook. I know that there are 1,000,001 questions that were asked there. Let's take a look here. Yeah, you got to be careful. I don't want to answer any absurd questions like when's the release date, because that's not. We got
approximately 6 months after beta starts.
Yeah. We got a question: how many Easter eggs can we expect in Diablo 3? Because clearly, that's something that we can answer.
Didn't Easter just pass?
How many, Tyler?
123 Easter eggs.
Well, there you have it, 123 Easter eggs. Oh, speaking of numbers, we also, again, we had a couple of basically nods and go-aheads from Bashiok. He did have that Twitter that we talked about, that Twitter announcement that we talked about in the last podcast, the last Reporter podcast, at the end of last week, basically announcing today through a series of numbers. And then also the fact that he mentioned that listening to the conference call itself may not be that interesting, but you want to keep an eye out on fan sites. So clearly we're getting something, right? I mean, that's
I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, with that type of information, I feel it's reasonably safe to say that we're going to be getting something somehow, somewhere. All right, so let's just take a quick look, see if we have any good questions here. Again, you can ask questions in the IRC or the Facebook page, and there's also obviously there's that live comments chat box on the right-hand side, but that's going to be hard to find questions in. So
scrolling down like a wave.
Let me open that up, see if we can get that going too. All right.
All right, I got a couple questions here from Mr. Mike on Facebook, so let's just see if we can go through these. He seems to be like he's asking reasonable questions. Even if they may have been answered, we'll still something we can go over. So first question is, are co-op teams still limited to 4? You wanna talk about that one, Tyler?
Yeah, teams are still limited to 4. That's the news we've heard for a while now. I know nothing was officialized, I guess, but that's been the news for a while. And I'm okay with that. I don't know about you guys, but I feel that 4 is more than plenty for this game.
Now, that is just in the PvE. The PvP, and we talked about this once before, is going to be a maximum of 6 players. So, I mean, you can do something funky like 5v1 or 4v2, but maximum of 6 for PvP.
So there you go, yeah. And again, that seems, I don't know, that seems pretty reasonable to me as well, I would have to say. Looking at the gameplay footage when 4 were on screen, it even seemed like it could have been a little crowded. And even, too, if we consider, I know we've talked about followers or mercenaries or whatever the hell you want to call them, Kevin. I know we talked about those in the past, and that's going to even add a little more clutter to the screen. So after seeing the gameplay footage with multiple characters on one screen, I think that initial announcement when they had said that that's part of the reason they're cutting it to 4 due to like clutter, I think that seems pretty reasonable now. So that's definitely part of it.
Yeah, and I believe I remember Jay Wilson saying that one of the reasons for cutting it down from 8 to 4 was because most of the time when you're in a game full of 8, the only reason why you're actually in a full game of 8 is because you're bail running or cast running. If you're actually playing through the game, you normally don't have all 8 players all together at one time. So basically what he was saying is we'll cut it down to 4, and that way it'll create a better social environment. People will want to be able to play it with each other, talk with each other. I mean, that's the whole goal of Battle.net too.
Mm-hmm. And actually, I got a quick question for you, Kevin. Did you end up playing? What classes have you ended up playing at BlizzCon? Like, what have you spent time playing?
I mean, I've tried to play all the classes at every BlizzCon, but I would have to say that the one that I've always played the most was the Wizard. I mean, like I said, I try to play them all, but I spend the most time playing the Wizard, and that's been like that every year so far.
Have you had any experience at all with the Witch Doctor? This is all leading up to something. Not completely random.
I mean, I played the Witch Doctor a little bit, so I mean, it just depends. I mean, like I said, I played a little bit of the Barbarian, a little bit of the Witch Doctor, and last year I got to play the Demon Hunter, just not in PvP because she wasn't ready yet. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, for the most part, it was the Wizard, though my partner last year in PvP played Witch Doctor, so maybe I could, what?
Well, people are asking about the, what's the damn question already? People are asking about the Wall of Zombies skill. So I wanted to know if you had any experience with that in particular. Basically, the question was if it's going to work like Bone Wall in terms of precision. I really don't have any frame of reference. I feel like that it would. I feel like it's going to be, you select a spell and then it's going to be targeted in a location on the ground wherever your mouse is located. Have you seen it or anything like the sort?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go on a limb here and say basically it's going to work exactly like Bone Wall does.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say, and I remember seeing it here and there, but I mean, just through various gameplay videos, not even personally. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to go on a limb and say yeah.
Yeah, that seems pretty reasonable. Tyler,
how else are we assuming it would work?
Yeah, well, I'm not.
I mean, if it's not clicking.
Yeah, I guess that's how every damn spell works.
Me, I would
no,
he made it funny.
He's a funny guy. He is. What's your name? What's your real name again?
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill. That is right.
Don't blow my cover, guys.
Too funny. All right, let's take a look here. I think we do have.
I actually got a question from IRC.
Right, let's do it.
And it seems relatively simple. It's can items have more than one socket? And this is from Brulfru, I believe. And I'm going to go on a limit, and I don't remember offhand, but I'm going to say yeah, items can have multiple sockets. Anything, Tyler?
I would assume the socketing system is going to work similar to it did in Diablo 2, where different sizes had different limits. I know the actual socketing thing that you can do with the blacksmith. What I've heard is that you can socket
add and
up
remove,
to
right?
Yeah, you can add. I think it was. I don't remember. It's either you can add one socket or you can socket it up to -1 of what the max would be for that item.
Okay, so essentially, yes, it can have more than one socket then.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, there you have it. Let's take a look for some more questions as we are patiently awaiting the start of the conference call, which is going to be, looking to start in a little less than 10 minutes. Again, we're going to expect some layover time, and we're also
a little less than soon TM.
Yeah, and we're also going to expect some just some basic investor information, which we're really not going to pay too much attention to. We're just going to wait until we get to the bulk of the Diablo focused discussion, because there's really no need for us to look at numbers too much, basically.
I guess for Kevin, Hypnotic wants to know if you noticed any OPs in the classes at BlizzCon.
Yeah. I mean, obviously things aren't completely balanced, and I guess it depends if he's talking about PvP or PvE, though I guess it doesn't really matter in PvE. PvP, I have to say that that the Barbarian was, once people started getting, got used to him, I played against APOC and Magistrate. I mean, they started getting the Barbarian pretty down pat, and once you were stunned, you were pretty much done for. I mean, a couple of shots and you're dead. I mean, as a wizard, I guess. So, I mean, a stun, and then I've got Magistrate back here, just kiting me while I'm stunned and I can't move and everything. Yeah, so, I mean, Barbarian is pretty badass.
Yeah, that's... I feel like that's just how it has to be worked around, that any of these melee classes need to be in a position where once they get within your range and they can lock you down even for a moment, they have to do crap tons of damage. Because we all know in any type of RPG like this, it's always the caster who is more fragile and forced to try to circumvent the melee characters. But it's going to be, although that you kind of reached that level in the PvP that you did at BlizzCon, there's also going to be a time frame where the casters are going to figure out how to kite properly and how to use their cooldowns properly.
Right.
Because it's all about using those slows, the snares, and those any sort of escape tools like the teleport specifically, or spirit walk for the Witch Doctor. I also know that the Witch Doctor has this kind of it has a slow effect, this AoE slow effect that's ground based. That's something that I've seen. I don't know if you guys paid attention in the PvP video, but he casted it on the Wizard at some point, and he tried to cast it a second point on the Wizard. It's like this, looks like spirits are coming out of the ground. I really don't know. Do you guys know the name of that?
I believe it's Grasp of the Dead.
Yeah. So yeah, using something like that, and you have to think of ideal timings when it comes to PvP and balance, like that sort of kiting situation. You'd have to wait, like the Barbarian does his leap, and then you cast that on the ground where he's about to hit with the leap, and then try to run away from there. But yeah, no, it's pretty interesting, that whole mechanic in terms of melee versus caster. It's always the case where, again, the caster's trying to do the kiting and the melee's trying to close that gap as quick as possible.
Right.
Now,
while we're on this topic, actually, I'm gonna share my Witch Doctor PvP.
You're gonna share some PvP insight?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
I'm
because
excited.
I get all the non-PvP hate, so I plan on making a complete crowd control Witch Doctor, because he has about 5 or 6 skills that are all crowd control abilities, such as Zombie Wall, Grasp of the Dead, Confuse, Hex, and stuff like that. And my job on the team will be just to completely hold everybody else back, so you guys can just kill them.
That's a good thing. That seems like a reasonable thing. Besides the Grasp of the Dead, do you know of any other crowd control abilities for the Witch Doctor?
Well, I guess we don't know exactly how it's going to work against player versus player because of some of the changes they're making to the skills, but there's Horrify, which is basically a fear spell, which is just going to make everyone run away. There's Confuse, which I'm actually interested in how it works with PvP, because on monsters it makes them attack each other, so I don't know if it'll kind of put them into an automatic mode where they kind of hurt each other. There's Hex, which you actually get a fallen shaman, I think, or a fetish, and he turns the player into a chicken, so they can't do anything for a while.
There you go. Pretty awesome.
And I think you're actually missing one really important one, and it's one that you wouldn't really think about. And the mongrels, I think they're a huge crowd control. This is something that played a big part when I was playing last year during the PvP. I had mongrels chasing me across half the time, and my partner was also a Witch Doctor. So if the mongrels were chasing them, I could easily kite my opponent while they're chasing or running away from the mongrels. So basically, it's either they got to pick either me kiting them or the mongrels that they're gonna have to tank.
Mm-hmm. And that seems that makes a lot of sense, because the last position you want to be in is right next to a mongrel that's going to get sacrificed at any second.
Right. Right.
We saw specifically in the PvP footage just how massive that amount of damage could be. And that's definitely a frustrating thing to deal with. But even with, and people ask, well, how can the Witch Doctor have something that strong? You have to realize that the ramp-up time for something like that's ridiculous. You've got to summon all your mongrels, then you have to sick them on the player, and then explode them. Like, that's a 3-step process for that amount of damage, and that's why it's as strong as it is. Anything that has that kind of wind-up is definitely needs to have a kick to it to actually be worthwhile. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so just a few moments now from the actual official start. Let's look for a couple of other questions. Now, I've actually got a lot of questions about WASD movement.
I actually just saw that too in the IRC.
Yeah, there's been numerous questions on various videos. There's been a couple on the Facebook page. People have been asking on the main YouTube channel too. So people wondering, is WASD going to be a movement that's available in Diablo? I know, obviously, that the main movement has always been you click from this point to that point. What do you guys think about that option, having the option for WASD movement?
Personally, it'll be different. And I guess since you can bind keys to whatever you want, I guess it might be possible. But from Blizzard's standpoint, if they're seriously looking into doing something on consoles, I think that it would be in their best interest to add a WASD control for Diablo 3 on the PC, because essentially, that's how it's going to have to work on a console. We won't have keys, we'll have a D-pad, but it's just about the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And what about yourself, Tyler? What do you think about that?
I'm going to be the complete antagonist about this and just say that WASD will not work for Diablo. With the isometric view, forward, back, left, and right just doesn't really work. You know what I mean? You have to be able to move at certain angles. And, there's games that use it, but you just have to change the camera angle, and basically you're moving forward within that camera angle, whereas in Diablo you can't do that.
Well, if you do something like hold W and D at the same time, then you'll be going, northeast. So
I guess the thing to consider whether or not it makes sense is that whether or not it'll be an option for players. Personally, I would never use it for the reasons.
Neither would I.
Yeah, for the reasons Tyler basically said, because it just seems it's just so you lose a lot of precision with something like that. You lose a ton of precision. It's always going to be the case that a mouse movement's going to give you more accurate movement throughout the world, and with having to dodge spells and abilities, because this is a game where those damage dealing things aren't locked on target. They're something that you're actually able to avoid and dodge, and that becomes a little more difficult using the WASD. But having that option, I don't see. I don't know. I don't see that as being the worst thing in the world. I just obviously
no option.
Logistically, it's not the best of decisions, but people have been asking about it, so clearly it's something that people like for one reason or another. So I don't know. Maybe they should at least offer it, I guess. All right. No.
I mean, I don't
no.
still think that's an option.
Yeah.
maybe it's just me being a hardcore Diablo fan, but Diablo is a point-and-click game. There's no need to use it.
All right. Well, the next thing I think that we should actually go into, we've had a lot of discussion. A lot of people have been talking about the melee classes in the game. Of course, for the two melee-focused characters, the up-in-your-face, we have the Barbarian and the Monk. So main differences between the classes in terms of how they function, how they do damage, and how they're going to play out. I've heard a lot of kind of ex-Barbarian players say that they're favoring the Monk, and they're actually going to play the Monk over the Barbarian itself, just because the Monk seems like the more agile and quick damage dealer, as opposed to the Barbarian being a little more, lumbering a little slower than that. Tyler, personal opinions on the differences, strengths, and weaknesses between the Monk and the Barbarian?
I guess for me, the biggest difference, rather than damage, because I feel damage output's going to be pretty much the same over an expanded amount of time. I mean, obviously the Monk is quick hit, the Barbarian's slower but heavier. So over a period of time, I feel the damage is going to equal out. So for me, it's more of a damage-taking situation. How much can the Barb, how much is the Barb taking, and how much can the Monk avoid? I personally find the avoidance system kind of a little more, at least, interesting than just taking in tons and tons of damage. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of leaning towards the Monk on that and seeing how they kind of equal those out between him not being able to take as much damage as the Barb, but still being able to stay close in on the fight.
Two big things I've seen for either class in terms of, I guess, damage avoidance, if you will. I know that the Barbarian has that shield wall type ability, which from what I've seen makes him immune. And one thing that I really liked about the Monk was the spell reflect that he has, where he kind of swings his staff back and forth. He's got a
pretty sweet.
Little purple bubble around him, and he actually spits spells right back out of the caster. With that in mind, those two specific things, it's almost leading me to believe that the Monk may be more of the anti-caster type class. And some people would say that makes him the better melee character. Barbarian, I feel like, obviously is going to tank the Monk damage pretty well. I feel like in the one-on-one matchup, the Barbarian will do well against the Monk, just because of they're both melee characters, so one has to have an advantage over the other. It just seems like logically the Barbarian would have that advantage. So that then would lead me to believe that the Monk would have the advantage over the spellcasters. Any thoughts or opinions on either of those, Kevin?
I mean, it really depends. I somewhat disagree with what you just said.
Well, we all know, a fire, so.
I mean, all the classes are meant to be DPS classes, so right off the bat, they should all be able to output the same amount of damage over time. Can we all agree on that?
Yeah, I
mean, I'm pretty sure I said that exact same thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Right. Yeah, you did. Okay, so, I mean, and like, just kind of piggybacking on what Tyler said, the Monk should kind of be is quicker, whereas the Barbarian is heavier. But now, for other classes, say the Wizard, who can, I guess teleport doesn't really help because the Barbarian can leap. So I guess melee versus caster, I guess that might be somewhat of an issue if you can't really kite that great in 1v1. But I mean, obviously, there's going to have to be some kind of distinct rock, paper, scissors kind of a thing we got going on here, because, I mean, obviously they're not bouncing it over 1v1, so...
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to interject very quickly, let everyone know that the Activision Blizzard conference call has started. Now, again, they're still kind of working into basic financial stuff, nothing that's really of interest to a lot of the players. But like I mentioned prior, once they get into some actual discussion about the game itself, we're going to be cutting our discussion and heading right on over to that. So, So there you have it. All right, so let's hop into some other questions. I've had the questions again. It seems like people are still wondering about the system specs. I'm gonna make this nice and quick and short. Just look to World of Warcraft and look to StarCraft 2 as kind of your guiding light. You're not going to need much more than that. One thing about Blizzard games, though, is that even though they are able to be used on a wide variety of systems, especially lower end ones, that's one of those things they're kind of notorious for. Their system specs go from kind of the lowest to the highest end of the spectrum. They also scale very nicely. So higher end computers, if you have one, the games will still look nice, and they've got the option for some really pleasing graphics. But the lower end, your system should be able to maintain it as well. Oh yeah, and I believe we talked about this, and maybe it was the last cast. It was kind of when we were doing the rapid fire questions. I believe that Blizzard is shooting for DirectX 9, and DX9 was what was supported originally on Windows XP. So essentially, I mean, the range of system specs is going to be huge. I mean, so again, you don't have to go out and spend $2,000 on a brand new computer just for Diablo 3. I guess if you want to be able to play it on the ultra everything, terrain and graphics and shaders and everything, then and that's up to you. But otherwise, I mean, it's unnecessary. All right, let's go into another question here. You guys have anything in the IRC? Or you want me to? Yeah, I actually have a decent question here from Hypnotic again. Okay. And he says, we know we have items that increase magic drop, but will we also have any kind that increase the chance of healing orb drops? So basically, we know that we have MF. Are there going to be any actual health orbs percentages, I guess? And I guess this really just depends on how the affix and suffix system is set up for the entire game. Tyler, anybody else have anything to add? Yeah?
There are traits that I know, I believe it's one of the universal ones that every class can choose, and it's actually going to increase the amount of health globes that actually drop for your character.
Oh, I didn't... Actually, we were just talking about this on the forums the other day. I can look it up real quick. I didn't know that it was actually the percentage of health orb drops. I thought it was the percentage of health you get from it over time. I think it's different from... I think there are, different variations of that. Is that correct? I mean, I believe that they're going to have both options depending on the character. And stuff.
I think it's actually going to be both. I mean, it's going to kind of help fill those. I mean, this is kind of where a lot of people feel getting rid of the auto stats is kind of losing those little niches and being able to build those characters. But in all actuality, really, I mean, they're adding just so much more to help you do that. I mean, things as far as dropping more globes or getting more healing from those ones. The ones that do drop is going to, help you fill those little niches, especially like in PvP. Obviously, not as many globes are dropping, so you're going to want to choose, the ones that increase the amount of healing from them. Whereas if you're PvE, you're going to need that sustained ability, so you're going to want to drop more than necessarily the amount that it heals.
I actually just double checked it, and it's pounds of flesh.
That's right.
The trait, basically what it does is, for every point into this trait, it adds another 20% drop chance for health globe from each particular monster. And other than that, it also increases the amount of healing per globe. So this pounds of flesh trait, it adds drop rate and healing rate per globe. So
very cool.
That's good stuff. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, I'm going to actually set up the slides so that we can have the option to cut to that whenever need be. If you guys want to answer, go ahead and follow up with an additional, some additional questions, and then I'll get this set up right here as we go into it.
Sure. Let's.
I mean, do you see anything, Tyler?
Demon Hunter. Dude, Kevin.
What?
Sorry, no, go ahead, Kevin. Go ahead, choose a question. Let's talk about it.
I'm just, alright, let's see. What do we got here? Jeez, dude, there's it's coming from everywhere.
What is?
No, I mean, because I have 3 different windows open. I got the IRC open, I got the YouTube open.
You're silly.
I am. And somebody says that you should turn off the gameplay because it's making them lag.
Well, that's silly. I think we have, there we go. So looks like we have the slideshow up for people to take a look at. And let me just go ahead and get this out of there so that doesn't pop up.
And actually, regarding the beta, I've seen a couple of different questions here and there. Somebody asked how many people are going to be in each batch. Somebody asked how many keys we're going to get. And this stuff is kind of things we're going to have to play by ear. I mean, the amount of people per batch, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, really all we have to play off of as of right now is StarCraft 2, and StarCraft 2 is an RTS game. So, I mean, I can guarantee that there won't be anywhere near as many people in the D3 beta that there will be in the StarCraft 2 beta, just because SC2 is, like I said, an RTS, and the entire game revolves around balance. Whereas Diablo 3, we're pretty much just going to be testing, the core gameplay itself. And as far as how many keys go, that also we're going to have to play it by ear. So.
Mm-hmm. So I just want a quick little update, as everyone can see here. We do have the current slide. So this is the slideshow that's taking place here during the actual live call. Again, this is nothing of real interest. And as soon as something of interest does come up, we're going to cut our discussion and go ahead and pull on up to whatever they are actually talking about.
You may need to refresh if it's still showing the D3 gameplay.
It isn't.
No. I had to refresh in order to see it.
Oh, you were telling them?
Everybody else watching at home, Dennis. Not everything's about you. Come on.
Yeah, seriously.
People need better computers. Just kidding. You can play.
Well, we just told them not to go buy them.
Yeah, exactly. Too funny. All right, so as you can see here, you guys aren't missing much of anything unless you wanted to know about the GAAP of Activision Blizzard in 1 quarter. Yeah, they're doing pretty well. Let's talk about this then. While we're here, while we're looking at the revenues for Activision Blizzard. Also, you guys gotta keep in mind, this is Activision Blizzard. This is a merger. Realize Activision has a whole separate wing of things that are not, Warcraft, Starcraft, Diablo related. So you have to incorporate that into these numbers. Obviously, these numbers would be absurd either way. But while we're looking at this, and while we're taking a look, while they're going over their financials from that first quarter, let's talk about the priority that the precedence that games have based on what they pull in for a company. We all know that WoW is friggin' huge, and we all know that WoW is just a complete cash cow for Activision Blizzard. So I've had people ask questions. I've seen this on the forums a few times actually over the past couple of weeks. People saying that, hey, you know what? Blizzard is taking such a long time with Diablo because they take no precedence over it, because it doesn't make nearly as much money, or it doesn't have the opportunity to make nearly as much money as something like WoW that's pulling in a monthly subscription. So what do you guys think about that, and what do you think? Do you think that has played a role into the development of Diablo 3 and its the length it has taken at all?
I would have to disagree with that. I'm going to play Tyler on this one. I'm going to have to disagree with that. I was just I think they went over some of the estimated figures in the All Your History series that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. They make something like $1.1 million or $1 billion a month, but just off of subscriptions, not including games and all that stuff. So, that's a pretty ridiculous amount of money that they're making just off World of Warcraft. And they have said that they had to pull people off of Diablo 3 and StarCraft 2, and I think it was even Warcraft 3 at the time, to work on World of Warcraft so they can get the game out, in time. But Diablo is a huge franchise. They really only have the 3 franchises, Diablo, Warcraft, and StarCraft, and StarCraft is already released. So, Diablo is huge, and they're already expecting to make expansions. They haven't released anything official, but obviously expecting expansions would be okay. Other than that, Jay Wilson said that he likes downloadable content, so, that's a possibility. And you also got to keep in mind all of the other merchandise that comes along with the game, like T-shirts and hats and everything else that could possibly relate to Diablo that they could also make money off of. So, it's not just all about the game, it's the franchise.
Mm-hmm. All right, yeah. I would say in a sense I definitely agree with that. Even with that, though, the end of the day revenue is obviously going to be higher for something like WoW. So it seems reasonable that they are going to devote more resources to it on the general. Not necessarily pre-production. I'm not saying that right now there are more resources going into WoW than there are into Diablo. But once Diablo is released, obviously overall the greater extent of income from WoW is going to be there as opposed to what Diablo is after those initial sales. Again, that plays part of a role, and something else to think about is the continued maintenance of these games. We look back in Diablo 2, and yes, Blizzard has definitely spent the time to put in patches and make fixes to Diablo 2, but a lot of people would still say that there's a lot wrong with it, especially looking at things like spam bots and hackers and all of this kind of crap that people have to deal with and kind of ruins the game experience. part of the reason that those things are so handedly dealt with in an MMO is our monthly subscription. That's what it comes down to. The monthly subscriptions allows a company like Blizzard to pay for people to constantly be looking at, fixing, and resolving these issues. Whereas lacking those monthly subscriptions for a game like Diablo or for StarCraft, people would say that there's less precedence or just less possible resources to be invested in it. I think with that said, though, that Blizzard isn't clearly in a strong situation where they have something like World of Warcraft that they can actually use part of those proceeds to fund their other ventures. That seems like that's reasonable. But still,
they already said that they lose money off of BlizzCon, which I kind of find hard to believe, but I mean, that's a perfect example of how they're spreading around the money, I guess.
Yeah. But obviously, yes, they lose money, but that's also like a huge thing. That's huge advertising for them. Like BlizzCon's such a gigantic experience for everyone, you know. But still, Tyler, you personally, what do you think about that debate about how, you know, dealing with what you get from? I mean, let's just pretend that you owned a bakery or something and you sold cookies and muffins. Well,
and I do.
If people are purchasing a lot more of your cookies, if you're getting more money from your cookies, it makes sense that you would make those and sell those more as opposed to your muffins that no one's buying because they taste like crap. Sorry, but you just don't do a good job. But I mean, that's kind of like a simple breakdown of the logic behind that. What do you think about that in terms of how it relates to Diablo's development time and then maybe its continued maintenance as it comes out?
Well, I guess first I'm going to use your analogy, because the thing that confuses me most about people who bring up this topic is why can't I have cookies and muffins at the same time?
Oh, it's not saying that I don't
am I not allowed to keep my cookie supply coming in and have an occasional muffin? Is that a possibility?
I don't think the argument, and I'm not necessarily even saying this is my opinion per se, but I don't think the argument is that you can't do these two things in conjunction, but it's that less is going to be put into the thing that gives you less in return.
I mean, yeah, and back to exactly what you're talking about. Obviously, the money they're making from WoW, like a lot of that goes into keeping WoW updated and servers and patches and everything like that. But obviously, that's where a lot of the money has come in from, for the company, and they're obviously using that, to do all these other projects. I mean, not even, just Diablo 3. Like, look how many, we have a new MMO coming up on the horizon, and I'm sure they have tons of other ventures that they're now getting into as well. And I feel all of this is due to the financial availability that WoW has given them. So to say that WoW is, stopping anything else from happening in the company is kind of ridiculous, because all they are really doing is taking that money to expand their company.
I'm sorry, I need to cut in right here. Apparently, they just said on the call that they don't expect any releases in 2011 still, but they do expect 2 releases in 2012.
Well, there you go.
So what that means for us, I mean, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, obviously, Heart of the Swarm is going to be one of the releases next year. Maybe D3 could still be up in the air, and maybe it's another World of Warcraft expansion that they want to have out next year. I mean, it all depends. And this kind of gets me wondering what we're going to hear about the beta now.
Yeah, pretty interesting. And now, again, we're going to go back to what's been said in the past through various venues, that this is something that we were wanting to keep an eye out on. And again, Vashyok had mentioned wanting to take a look at our fan sites after the conference call. So there's still got to be something. Fingers crossed when it comes in terms of the beta. I guess overall, it's not all that surprising. For various reasons, but I don't think early 2012 is out of the question.
I mean, if they're planning on getting it, if the original plan was December of 2011, then January of 2012 is really, not that big of a difference when we've been waiting, 3+ years for this game. So, I mean, don't to the people listening, don't let the year scare you as much as, for the actual time frame.
That seems reasonable.
Right. The loss of high margin.
Okay, no, I just accidentally turned up the audio for that. All right, so we're still gonna wait. We're still waiting until they actually discuss Diablo 3. Now, again, they did just mention that the little recap. They did just mention that they still don't have any guaranteed releases for 2011, but they're certain that there's going to be 2 2012 releases, and again, that's likely to be Diablo 3 and the Heart of the Swarm. All right. So, did you guys want to go into some more questions while we still await their actual discussion of the game itself?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Actually, I mean, what we're you guys can continue what you were talking about money makers, shaking them.
All right. Well, I think actually we'll take a quick look here. I know that there were a few more questions. Did you have anything from the IRC over there, Tyler?
No. I mean, I don't. We're all. I think all three of us are multitasking like crazy right now.
Yeah, no,
it's done. So
yeah. I mean, I'm trying to pay attention to everything and talk. I like talking though.
Not easy.
But I guess also, I mean, with that 2012 thing, still, it's just that, again, hopefully that means if we are talking about Diablo 3 right now, then, hopefully it is very early in 2012, which I think would be the case. I mean, even if they've been pushed in 2011, if that is no longer the case, there's no reason to think it's going to be, then, June of 2012 or later, I'm sure it's going to be fairly early into the year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that would be a pretty good assumption. And again, it all depends on what we hear about for the beta. I mean, he could easily say beta isn't starting until February of next year. Then again, he could also go ahead and say beta is going to start, the end of July or the end of the summer or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to check. Kevin. Some people are saying that I have people here saying that they were listening to the conference and they didn't hear anything about that 2012. Do you have a reliable source of information?
Yeah, one of the World of Warcraft forum MVPs.
Oh, that seems reasonable.
Blizzard says is a reliable source, so I think it's okay.
There we go. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right then. So there we have it. That's kind of what it is. And as we've discussed, this definitely does not rule out early 2012. I don't think this should dash everyone's hopes quite yet, at the very least. And we're still waiting to hear further information about the beta, which we know we will be hearing. In just a matter of what precisely they're going to be going over. As you can see, we are still playing the slideshow right here, and this is still financial stuff that they're going over. It looks like they are actually starting to. They're doing some highlights here of the first quarter in terms of what was released and big events that took place for Activision specifically. I think once they go to Blizzard, you guys just want to cut right into the call at that point?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, cool. So once they start reviewing some Blizzard highlights, we're going to cut into the call. There's also going to be, I know at the end of the conference call, they do some question and answer kind of thing, where some of the investors ask employees of Blizzard and Activision any major questions. I think that's specifically where we got news at the last conference call that we would be hearing more about the beta here, was from a question.
Yep, that's correct. One of the investors had asked how it was going. And I have got breaking news from Dr. Soviet 1. Soulja Boy is the king of hip-hop, and that he's better than Biggie, Tupac, Jay-Z, Kanye, and Lil Wayne.
Well, that is...
I'm assuming he means all put together.
Thank you for that.
That is big news, and obviously pertinent to our discussion here.
Clearly.
So there you have it. All right, let me take a look here, see if we have any other big questions to go over while we're still passing the time.
Yeah, right now they're kind of just doing Activision stuff, so I see the occasional call of World of Warcraft duty or call of World of Duty.
Cock of
comments
duty.
Here and there. Yes.
Cock of Duty, as it was so. Did you guys ever watch that series?
I can't say I have.
Oh, it's terrible.
Unless you're just throwing that up out there right now.
No, it's from Arby and Chief, which was a series, kind of still action, whatever the hell you want to call it, series of the Arbiter from Halo and Master Chief. Absolutely hilarious. Definitely something I would take a look at. Let's see, a few more questions. People still asking about replays. The replay function, is it going to be available? This is still up in the air. It's a coin toss as to whether or not we're going to see replays and or observation mode. Something that I talked about. And I think we've gone into it before in the podcast, is that they're looking to, and they're considering actually having live tournaments and events and competitions for Diablo 3. So that means that possibility of having the replay function could very well be there.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that would be huge, especially if, like we were talking about last week, Blizzard ends up doing their own events, which I mean I'm sure is going to happen at the BlizzCons.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Something else to talk about, BlizzCon. Still got product lineup for 2011, so as you can see, Diablo 3 is not in here. But you know what? And I'm not too disheartened, in all honesty, by that news. And the reason I'll say that is because although they said they're pushing, no one was expecting an announcement of the game release today. Right? I mean, this was not expected today. We were not expected to see that. And we have to go back to what we thought during the last conference call. I think it's safe to say that, in the last conference call they said it wasn't assured, but then we had all that confirmation of they're still trying for it. Just because they haven't officially announced it in 2012 doesn't mean they're not still trying for it. Something I've talked about is that a large part of whether or not it's going to get released in 2012 is going to come down to how the beta goes. I think that's reasonable. I don't know about either of you, but I think that's a reasonable thought.
Oh, I mean, well, depending on what we hear, if beta starts in 2, 3, 4 weeks, depending on how long it is, depending on how it goes, yeah, I mean, like I was saying before when I first made the announcement, it could easily be that they just want to release a World of Warcraft expansion and StarCraft 2's Heart of the Swarm next year, and Diablo 3 might still be up in the air completely. I mean, we don't know exactly what 2 games they're looking for. I mean, obviously one of them is going to have to be Heart of the Swarm, but we don't know what the second one is.
Yeah. And just a quick little cap. The exact quote here that I'm given, I don't know if I can trust this, but the exact quote of what they said is pretty much the precise thing they said last podcast, which is if Blizzard doesn't ship a major title this year, we can expect a minimum of 2 titles to be released next year, 2012. That's pretty much verbatim what was said last.
Right.
In the last
so far nothing's changed as far as we know.
Yeah. Yep.
But again, I mean, it doesn't hurt. I mean, we don't know for sure what games they're talking about. So, I mean, don't lose hope yet, but don't be over anxious.
Keep your pants on. Calm down. Take a deep breath. I'll tell you what, though, I am looking forward. I am looking forward to a few things. I'm looking forward to Big Game Hunters 2012. I'm looking forward to Skylanders Spiral Adventure.
Skylanders looks amazing.
Wipeout. Is that about? Is that show where they just have people jump on stuff and go through like real life obstacle courses?
I can only hope that that's what the game is.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah, too funny. So there you have it. Let's just keep our fingers crossed. The call is still going on, and I'm not positive as to what is going on. Did you guys want to jump in now, or are we going to wait till we get straight up Blizzard information?
We can keep bullshitting for a couple minutes.
Keep rolling. This is quality information for the people.
and hey, you don't even have to. You don't have to do any editing.
Yeah. So thank you guys for the live.
Now everybody knows. Now everybody knows what we do when we actually record these podcasts.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of ashamed I can't get my voice auto-tuned right now. I'll be sounding like, so then we'll have T-Pain, we'll have Jonah Hill, and we'll have Broadcaster Force.
You are absurd. Absolutely absurd. People asking about gem stats in D3. What is the role it will take? Damage, haste, magic find, core stats. I'm going to say mixed bag, all of the above.
Yeah, I personally hope that they're actually really extending what gems do in this game. You know, they've with all the different 14 levels of gems. I mean, the possibilities are endless at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping, like they've talked about, you'll be trading off stats. So maybe one gem, they've said, magic find, but you'll also be trading that off for other things like experience bonuses and stuff like that. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff I hope that they add to this one that we didn't see in D2, and hopefully some fun ones that actually make you make decisions rather than finding that one that's the best and everybody just choosing that one gem.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Actually, on the topic of gems, I guess we can kind of go ahead and throw the speculation out there from a Bashiok post that was made not too long ago that he basically implied that there's going to be some kind of auction house, and basically what he said was that if you don't want to keep your gems, there's going to be some way of trading your gems off and making money for them, and then if you wanted to get your gems back, you can easily buy them back for whatever gold you spent originally, which, like I just said, it kind of implies an auction house type deal for D3.
Yeah, cool. That sounds reasonable. And just so everybody knows, we did just update the video information for the stream. If you click on more info under the actual box, you should be able to see now the Diablo fans IRC. That was updated as per requested.
Had a bunch of people asking for it, and It's kind of hard to see in the spam that is the YouTube comment box.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Very difficult to discern questions from there. That is why we're pulling from both the IRC and or the Facebook page. Will Diablo, Baal, and Mephisto be in Diablo 3? Well,
I think Tyler should go ahead and answer this one.
Yeah.
He's got an interesting theory.
Tyler, let's hear the theory,
right.
sir.
Here we go. All three of them are combined into one creature in Diablo 3. That's my theory. A lot of this is when their soulstones were destroyed in Diablo 2, supposedly basically where their entities go is a place called the Void, and it's something that they've talked about in lore, and nobody really knows what happens down there. Nobody knows, what's going on, but basically it's just where demons are created and where they are held before they go to hell and stuff like that. So assuming they're in there, this is just my guess, but there's going to be some way that they get out of there. And in order to get out of the Void, that they're going to have to combine all their powers together to do that.
All right, and we actually have we're just starting right now. Blizzard is going into their highlights, so we're going to go ahead and head on over into that call. Sorry to cut you off, but this is what everyone has been waiting for, so let's just pick it right up right now.
On the Diablo 3 front, I'm pleased to report that we began internal company-wide testing last week. The game is looking great, and we are currently targeting a Q3 launch for external beta testing. The development team is working hard to try and launch Diablo 3 this year, but I want to be clear, we don't have an official release date or window yet. As always, we will not compromise the quality of the game in order to hit a window.
Yes, press the star key if you have questions. Watch everybody hit asterisk now. Oh, man.
A bunch of people hit 1 star right in the chat. All right, guys. Yeah. So there you have it. We got the information we have been looking for. We got their plans for this year for Diablo 3. We got the when the external beta testing is supposed to start. So a quick wrap up. All right, Q3 is when we're going to be looking for beta testing. So what is Q3 specifically? Well, the specific dates, the specific months for Q3 is going to be July, August, and September. That's what we're looking at. So that's when the external beta testing is supposed to be starting. Another thing to keep in mind is that they said specifically that they are still shooting for that 2011 release. It's not out of the question. He also confirmed that they're going to, they're not going to hurt the integrity of the game and releasing it too early. But if all goes well with the beta, which is going to be starting externally in Q3, then we could still be seeing the game this year. What do you guys think?
Okay, guys, I actually just asked Bashiok for a confirmation on this date, and he told me that he got confirmation just in case, so there's no misunderstandings here. Third quarter means July 1st through September 30th, and that is the time frame that we're looking for the D3 beta. So it's not the fiscal year, it's the third quarter of the actual year. So just to repeat again, it's between July 1st and September 30th is what we're looking for.
All right. Well, we listened to all of those questions for absolutely no reason because there was nothing.
That was my fault.
That's all right. I mean, there's no way we could have known. There could have very well been something worthy of noting. But I guess in all honesty, people are asking here in the chat, why wasn't there any Diablo questions? Well, I think the truth is because they pretty much answered anything we could ask. We know we now have the time frame for the beta, and Kevin, just a quick rehash for everyone. Q3, give them the dates. Q3
is going to be the time frame for the beta, as Dennis just said, and what that means is July 1st to September July 1st to September 30th, and that is the time frame we're looking at for the beta release. Of course, everything is subject to change with their development cycle, but that is the current goal.
And the other important thing, of course, to note is that besides that time frame of Q3 of this year, for the beta, there was an entire line dedicated to the fact that they are still looking at that 2011 release. That is still kind of within their sights. That is still their goal. Overall, obviously, we would have loved if the beta were to start next week. We now know July 1st is going to be the earliest of the beta start, but hey, man, I mean, I don't know. I'm not all that disappointed. We're confirmed that the beta's starting this year. We're confirmed that they're still shooting. I mean, this is something they announced in the conference call now, that they are still shooting for that 2011 release. And if not, early 2012 is probably what we're looking at. But I don't know. Tyler, what do you think about this? The beta could be as early as July 1st.
Well, my birthday is July 10th, so hopefully I will be playing Diablo 3 beta before my birthday or on my birthday. But I would assume, I feel the 6-month beta, that we've been talking about over and over again is obviously a very tangible date. There's, it's not like it has to be exactly 6 months. But if that's still what they're shooting for, I feel it has to start early in Q3, especially considering they're saying that they're still trying to push it out in 2011. So I would assume it's going to be earlier than later. I don't think we're going to see it September 30th. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Especially if they started internal alpha testing, and basically that is the Friends and Family Alpha. They're not now. They aren't doing a Friends and Family Alpha just because the company is so big. So there will be no external alpha. But, we can think of this as the alpha for the game. So, after this, it's beta testing, so only a couple months away. It can't be much longer than that. Beta is going to have to, without a doubt, start this year. Especially if they're alpha testing it right now, there's just no way it's going to be 2012. So, look forward to the beta.
Yeah, no, definitely. And specifically they said they started that internal alpha testing last week. So the alpha testing just began last week. And what does this mean? It means the game more or less is fleshed out. It's more or less complete. And again, Q3 is going to be the beta. So questions or comments people have maybe had. I had someone say that they're obviously going to start the beta at BlizzCon. That's not the case. Like we saw, it's Q3, and that's before BlizzCon because BlizzCon is in October. It's sort of mid-October. Was it the 14th or somline like that?
The 22nd and 23rd.
Okay,
now,
so
I wouldn't be surprised if we heard a release date at BlizzCon at some point. Now, I also just want to point out that before beta starts, we are going to have to hear, and Blizzard is going to release all of the unannounced systems so far. So that means that by Q3 of this year, so July 1st to September 30th, we should have all of the system and mechanic information as far as Diablo 3 goes.
Yeah,
so we're going to have a lot of news in the upcoming weeks, months.
Tyler?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Kevin had something to say. Anyways,
that was what I had to say.
I'm bad at looking at our little queue up system there. So there you have it, guys. Now, in terms of expectations for BlizzCon, as Kevin just said, we're probably gonna be seeing a release date announced. Then I would expect that to be when the release date is announced. People asking about, like we just mentioned, the beta start is going to be before BlizzCon. Based on the information we just got from that conference call. That does not, of course, mean that BlizzCon will not be giving beta tickets. I 100% expect BlizzCon to be giving beta tickets, but people will have already been in the beta prior to that point.
Right.
But is that the same sentiment for you guys?
Well, we know that 1,000 lucky people from, last BlizzCon or 2009? I don't even remember now. I think it was last BlizzCon. So BlizzCon 2010, that 1,000 people are going to be in the beta. Now, I honestly don't see them allowing every single person at BlizzCon 2011 into the D3 beta. Sure, it would make sense for a stress test, but we talked about that a little bit last week. I don't think that there's going to be that many people in the beta. So, as far as BlizzCon goes, maybe they'll do something like, all right, half of you are going to be able to get into the beta or something like that. But I don't know.
What about you, Tyler? Really. What do you think about that?
I definitely think there will be some keys handed out. I don't know if it's going to be to every attendee that goes there, but they will at least probably, if they handed out 1,000 last year, I can only assume with beta already in progress that they will, at least give out that many, if not more, next time.
Yeah, that seems reasonable if there's some sort of a grab bag or a random selection system. I guess, what do you guys think? We're going to field any more questions, or I feel like that's pretty much a pretty good wrap-up of everything that took place here today.
Yeah, I guess just for anybody just kind of tuning in, maybe you're late at school or something like that. Basically, Q3 beta, July 1st to September 30th, and we're going to have to hear a lot about Diablo 3 in the next coming weeks and months because we know that they want to release all the systems by then. Because beta is going to be in Q3, they're still shooting for a 2011 release date, so let's keep our fingers crossed.
All right. Well, there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Hopefully, we provided you with some entertainment as well as some good old knowledge there, and hopefully it was better than actually listening to the boring conference call as it would happen to be. So, as always, guys, I am your host, Dennis Force Duhamel, for Kevin and for Tyler. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
All right, take it easy, guys.
See you guys.
And anybody that didn't hear, maybe missed parts of it, this is going to be recorded and should be up relatively soon because no editing needs to be done. So
Yeah, we'll have, I guess, well, people who missed it wouldn't be listening to this, obviously.
well, maybe they tuned in late. That's why I did a little wrap up.
That's why I hate you. All right, guys, take it easy.